umpire's going to call a timeout. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, my goodness. It's like a fucking fire hose was just turned on in his throat. He claimed he was 90 days sober. We knew he was fucking lying. The umpire. We need to send him to AA again quickly. Bob!
Going on, dudes and dudettes, a lot of freaking shizzle to get through, so hopefully I'll have these all down and not have to do 2 parts. So Rob Pelinka, the Lakers GM, says he wants to update the roster. I think it's finally time. You know, there was some controversy with Kyle Kuzma's trainer, of course, saying and commenting on LeBron and how he plays this past week, especially after the Christmas game, and this had a little bit of stupid controversy that doesn't really need to be there. And of course, like I said, they needed to trade Kuzma a long time before any of this crap started. So, I mean, Kuzma's been good the past 2 games, but hopefully it's just because he's auditioning for another team to want to trade for him, hopefully. Then Darren Sproles, an ex-great running back for the Chargers, was recently with the Phillies, but had to stop playing this year because of a season-ending injury, has finally announced he's retired. It's great. He was awesome when he was with the Chargers his first half of his career, whether it was punt returning or subbing in for LaDainian Tomlinson, and even winning a couple playoff games against the Indianapolis Colts that I remember while he was on the team. He was just an awesome guy, and even though he was like, what, 5'5", 5'6", something crazy like that. Then some USC basketball news real quick. So they had a pretty big game before the Christmas break, and they had to play LSU, which was a good game at the Staples Center, where usually whenever USC's played some high caliber team at the Staples Center, they have lost. I think it was Oklahoma last year, but this year they finally got the W. They were down most of the game, but luckily they were able to get some good highlights there and able to get the victory. I think it was a tip-in, or it could have been another game. I'm mixing them up, but yeah, hopefully I talked enough for the what do you call those? The highlights to go through real quick. And then also USC beat the other day, not that long ago, a team in the Florida Gulf Coast, which is actually the head coaches of USC's ex-team that he was in, and that's kind of like how he got his start. His notoriety, but they were able to beat them 71-58. So luckily they were able to get a win against his old team. They obviously should have, since they've been crap ever since he hasn't been there, but plus they're really just a Cinderella story. They just had 1 or 2 good seasons while he was there, so they weren't really such a great team on the rise. That's why they kind of fell off even without him there. Then Tom McShay, one of the top ESPN guys who does recruiting for the NFL and does all the NFL draft stuff, said some pretty nice words about Michael Pittman Jr., the USC wide receiver, saying that he has a lot of the ability and then the attention right now to be able to become a top 5 wide receiver in this draft. Not like a top 5 overall pick, but at least like one of the top 5 wide receivers taken in the whole beginning of the NFL draft, which is pretty crazy. But after seeing the last game, I don't think it's probably going to happen. He does have an opportunity at the Combine in a couple months to be able to show what he can do and maybe move up. But I definitely think he's going to be a middle 2nd round pick, or definitely an early 3rd round pick. He's not getting that far back. Then also another USC cornerback, Isaac Taylor Stewart. He's in his sophomore year right now, and before a lot of this Holiday Bowl fiasco happened last week, he did say no matter what happens coaching-wise, he is going to stay at USC. He's 100% committed. Obviously, that was before the result that happened this last Friday. So yeah, I'll talk about that more later in this video. But yeah, I wonder if he's still feeling the same way after that game. Then also, NBA is looking to have some changes in the 2021-2022 season. Something like only playing 78 games instead of the normal 82. And then having like an in-season tourney to like kind of decide the final 2 spots, the 7 and 8 spots, so like 7, 8, 9 and 10. All those teams will have like, I don't know if it's a single game elimination type of tournament to be able to see who are get the last 2 spots in the NBA playoffs, which is pretty crazy. That could be kind of interesting. But what I like more is the reseeding of the final 4 teams when they get to the conference finals. So the top 2 teams from the West and the East, once it gets to there in the playoffs, then they do a reseed of who had the better record. So it could end up being like you have 2 teams from the East playing in the finals instead of 1 and 1, like how it's been all of NBA history, or 2 teams from the West, which would most likely happen because the West is more stacked, I believe. But yeah, that would be pretty cool, especially if you could have an all Clippers final and Lakers final in in a couple years, which would be pretty great if a lot of these guys stay the same. But we'll have to wait and see about that. Then Jason Tatum, small forward for Boston Celtics, ex-Duke player, had a career night. He had a career high in points with 39 points, which is really cool. Then he also had a double-double. I think he had like 12 or 13 rebounds, but awesome for him. Glad he's able to get it going. He's had a couple of these spurts of 30-point games, so I'm glad he was able to beat his career high. Hopefully he can get into the 40s now, so that's your next job, buddy. Then also the Anaheim Ducks finally got 2 victories these past couple weeks. So they beat the New York Islanders, which was a game against 2 of the lowly teams in the NHL, but they went to shootouts, and luckily the Ducks got the W, 6-5 overall, which is cool. But then they played the Vegas Golden Knights the other day as well and won 4-3, I believe. So kind of glad they got these wins. They missed some other ones this past couple weeks, so hopefully we'll see what they can do for the rest of the season. Hopefully some more wins to get into the freaking playoffs finally. Then some really big tumultuous news, I think, for USC, not only for their defensive coaching but recruiting wise as well, is that they let their defensive grad assistant and Chris Hawkins, who recently played a couple years ago but didn't decide to play in the NFL. He was just a grad assistant and helping coach for USC. He accepted a job for the defensive backs coach at ASU, which sucks because not only is it a team in your conference, but they're on the rise, I think, with Herm Edwards, and they're starting to get a lot more of these California kids to want to go there, and him being able to recruit as well as he did at some points to get some of these good cornerbacks that USC has past couple years has been well for them. But hopefully none of these fools end up going over there, but that's kind of hard to see them not going to a guy like that, who I thought they should have named a top recruiter for USC, or even given him one of the coaching spots. But obviously there's a reason why, and I'll get to that. But yeah, it's definitely a missed opportunity for them. So I'm gonna convert this real quick and hopefully be able to finish off this video soon.
I hope you like it. Whoop, whoop. Fuck this shit.
Wait, who's paying for the ambulance? Don't move. Wait, who's paying for the ambulance? Don't move.
Wow, you can really dance. Wow, you can really dance. He went. They said we've both been dancing all this time. What a coincidence.
Damn, boy. Damn, boy, he's sick, boy. Damn.
Alrighty, people, so yes, I have to finish this in the car real quick just because we have to bring the money from our work to the bank. And yeah, even though I'm off the clock, essentially I still get paid an hour because it literally takes like 30 to 40 minutes just to freaking do this shizzle. But yes, I decided to finish the video off in here. So yes, USC wide receiver Velus Jones Jr., he's more used as a punt returner and stuff, but he's pretty low on the depth chart. He's entering the transfer portal again. Isn't surprising just because he hasn't really lived up to his potential, and he entered it last summer. He came back, but now he wanted to stay, but he still has like career 30 some odd catches, which is pretty bad. So definitely, I hope it's a good sign that they're actually going to get another receiver in this coming up months when it's like the All-American games and Army All-American games, all that stuff. And hopefully it is the guy from out here from Corona Centennial, Gary Bryant Jr. So I think that's why, as far as depth chart wise, he thinks he's going to be pushed down. So hopefully that's a good sign for USC. And then, so the NFL playoffs are finally set. Looks like, at least for the Final Four, in my opinion. I kind of hoped that the 49ers would lose last night to the Seahawks, just because I think that would have been a better route for them to play Philadelphia, I believe it was, and then have to play a kind of struggling at this point Green Bay team, and then go to the finals at some point and play whoever. But yeah, I think it's still going to be, for me, 49ers versus Green Bay on that side of the conference finals. Then for the other side, I have Baltimore and Houston, just because I think if New England somehow gets by Tennessee, they're going to still struggle against Baltimore as they did earlier this year. So I just see Baltimore advancing because they only have to win one game to get to this area. Then Houston, I'm kind of just putting all my faith in one of my favorite quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson, who was my, obviously, fantasy quarterback this year. And yeah, I just think he has the ability to do it. And if it comes down to a shootout with Houston or with Kansas City, who everybody likes as well, I just think Houston's going to do well because they're actually going to get back J.J. Watt as well for the playoffs, and that's going to be huge in my opinion. Then also, the Chargers lost their season finale to the Chiefs, which I'm not surprised, but I was also happy too because now they secured a number 6 overall draft pick instead of number 10 a few weeks ago when we were talking about it. So I'm happy about that. So they'll be able to secure whether it's an offensive tackle or a quarterback, depending whichever one they choose. So I'm really happy about that. Then on to some Laker news. So they had lost, I believe it was the Christmas Day game to the Clippers, which was tough, but they're able to get back on track against Portland, and I think it was at Portland as well. So it's a good thing that they won over there. And they won 128-120, which is good. And both LeBron James and Kyle Kuzma, like I mentioned earlier, did very well in that game. I didn't hear much from Anthony Davis. I don't know if he was out or just didn't do all that well in that game. But yes, happy to see they're able to get that victory and continue on because they had the Mavericks the next game, which they won 108-95. And then there you heard from Anthony Davis. He had 23 points, which was good. But luckily they were able to hold Luka Doncic, the young rising star from Dallas, down a bit, and they're able to get the victory and even hold that team to 95 points, which is always great when the Lakers defense step up. So definitely happy about that. Then I'll do some Duke news. So the one game since we last spoke, they had against Brown, an Ivy League school, and they beat them 75-50. It was really close in the first half, which was a little bit surprising, but it's a long, Christmas break, and Duke students and the players shouldn't technically be there because there's no school at the time, but of course they have to play a game, which is dumb in my opinion. But yeah, so they were able to end up using their star power and getting that victory by 20 plus points. So not surprised about that, but I was surprised that Trey Jones was kept out again. But they are heading into the stretch starting of ACC play now officially. So I think they got Boston College on Tuesday and then Miami over the weekend. So it should be some good matchups for them to start off. Then yes, on to some that USC football news that I mentioned, that they did lose to Iowa in the Holiday Bowl 49-24. It was a somewhat of a back and forth game at the beginning, but you could just tell, like how I knew Iowa was going to be, where they just used their strength to the run game, but then for some reason a lot of their receivers look like fast as hell, like against USC, and they weren't like normal catching pass plays for a wide receiver. They were like end arounds and handoffs to them, and somehow they scored. And then USC gave up, I think it was a kick return or a punt return as well, which is horrible. And then Keaton Slovis, their quarterback, throughout middle of the game, ended up getting an injury, and then Matt Fink just wasn't able to do enough and get the victory for USC. He just struggled a lot, which sucked. I think once that happened, everybody's spirits went down. But because of that, the very next day, USC fired their defensive coordinator and Clancy Pendergast and their special teams coach and John Baxter. These were a couple firings that people have been wanting the past couple years to happen, which I didn't mind Clancy. I just think he's a good guy to have on your defensive coordinating staff, just not as your main coordinator. So we'll see who they get. Hopefully it's somebody good, but according to a lot of these reports, Clay Helton doesn't like to hire somebody who might be better than him, because then obviously they'll just fire him and replace him. But yes, a lot of crazy times for USC. At least this is a step in a little bit of the right direction, in my opinion, as far as cleaning house and seeing what they can get and who they can lure into their program as their defensive coach and special teams coach as well. So I'll keep you looking to that, and I am going to do a quick video of all the gifts I got for Christmas, because I finally came in with some of the gift cards I used finally today on Monday. So yes, look forward to that within the next couple of days. Thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know what y'all think, and have a great rest of your day.